Hello, folks, and welcome to the dark side of the kitchen. Today's episode is called The Loneliest Job in the Kitchen, Being the Head Chef. I'm your host, Noel Keane, aka the Culinary Gangster. So, welcome back to another episode, and all those who watched my last one, who commented, gave likes across various social media, thank you very much, very appreciated. And to the Irish guy for the shout out across Twitter, appreciate it as well very much. And so yeah, appreciate all of the interaction, folks, and to those who watched and commented. The last one seemed to strike a bit of a nerve. So as I say in every episode, one, if you are watching this, give it a like or a comment, a follow, whatever. Would very much appreciate it. I love what I do. Always have, not always, there has been moments, and I think that's true of any job. If you don't hate it at some stage, you're not doing it right, and I think that's particularly true in a kitchen, that at some stages, if you don't fucking hate it, or you're not pissed off with it, then you're probably not doing it, because you're not putting it in. But overall, I've had a good career out of it. I've been at it a long time. And I got a few rodeos left in me yet. You're not going to see the end of me for a while. But I will talk about the positives of the industry, of which there are many, and I will talk about the negatives, of which there are many. And do I have the answers to them all? No. I have an opinion, because I'm an opinionated fucker, and I'm sure there's people that may not know me very well, or people that do know me very well, both sides, some who like and some who don't like me, that would say I am very opinionated, and I will stand by my opinions, but it is a wonderful job in many aspects, and it's what keeps us coming back. It's what keeps us in the kitchen, and what keeps us even on the bad days coming back. I was inside in the kitchen on Sunday just gone. Sunday's a big day for us. We do a massive Sunday lunch, numbers wise, just and in the middle of it, some of the chefs, kitchen porters, and the food runners were all singing a song that was playing on somebody's speaker in the middle of being mad busy. You get these moments that are just joyous, they're funny, they're you get the bad moments too, but overall, some of the people I've worked with in this industry, fucking great people. And I have great respect for anybody that has spent years in the kitchen. Now, my opinion of somebody who's been in a kitchen for a year or two and then says they were a chef, they'll have to do something else. They were never a chef to start with, but I'm talking about the guys that have done the yards. Mad respect for them. But yeah, today's episode, The Loneliest Job in the Kitchen, Being the Head Chef. I'll tell you why. I've been lucky enough. I've been head and executive chef a few places, ran my own for a while, worked with some fabulous people, as I said, and worked for some good bosses too, some very good ones. Odd bad one. No, bad with me. That doesn't make them bad. And people that have been running a business for a long time are doing something right. Whether you agree or disagree with them, it's irrelevant. And I'll have chefs that have worked with me for very brief periods of time, and they will slate me to hell on high water that I don't know what I'm doing, I'm this and that and the other, and belt on, son. I had a guy last year who went across social media, Facebook mostly, and slated me personally after he was let go from the kitchen due to drink. I don't care. I'm around too long to care. But anyway, so we all started out in the kitchen as apprentices or commies, or even in hot wash first. And at the end of the day, we all want to end up in the same place. That's as head chef. Now you got to have a lot of experience, and I think I'm pretty okay head chef. I'm decent. There's 10 times better than me out there, but I give it welly. So but there are guys out there that I would still look up to. I just think they're fantastic. Like, everybody wants to be the head chef. When you're a commie, you look up to the head chef, you think they've made it. They call the shots. They run the kitchen. They set the standard. They have the authority, the respect, the title. I think you get to a point. Everybody, like I remember, I had this conversation with somebody recently about. It was actually a woman I worked with. She was a manager, but she's married to a chef, and she was talking about some old chef jackets, and that she was going to throw some out, and he freaked. And I was saying, yeah, I still have. When I got my first chef de partie position, got promoted to chef de partie, it was in a hotel, the Gleneagle. It was John Drummond that promoted me to chef de partie, and I got, Noel Keane chef de partie, Gleneagle Hotel. I still have that jacket. Now, it don't fit no more. I was a much slimmer young fella. As you're coming up, the title matters, you know what I mean? Because you're aiming for the next one. And it's not just, it's a pay rise with it, it's a promotion, it's a responsibility, it's the, all of that. So, as a young chef, you're working your way up. You want to end up, obviously, as head chef, but there's the titles in between that matter. And the titles mean something in a kitchen. So if you haven't worked in a kitchen, it probably doesn't resonate as much. But the matter is you're coming up. And I've always said I think nowadays titles are thrown out too fast because people give out titles just to keep somebody because there's just staff shortage, I think it was a little harder tonight coming up. Maybe it wasn't, you know what I mean? But what most people don't see is the other side, which is what comes with that title. Because becoming the head chef isn't just a promotion. It's a burden, it's a responsibility, it's a commitment to carrying things most people never knew about. And the higher you climb, the lonelier it gets. This episode isn't about the prestige of being a head chef, it's about the reality. The pressure, the sacrifice, the sleepless nights, the decisions, the moments when everybody around you needs an answer and you're not entirely sure you have it. This is the loneliest job in the kitchen. Every chef remembers wanting it. First promotion, the first section, the first time somebody trusted you with responsibility, and eventually the dream of becoming the head chef. Because from the outside, it looks like success. A symbol that you've made it, that all the years of the cuts, the burns, the stress, the sacrifice meant something. And it does. So again, this is me hating on it. It's reality of it. They're two different things. And I think if you can accept the reality of this job, you can go very far in it. Depending on, obviously your skill level, your willingness to push yourself and to, some chefs get to a particular point in career, they find comfort at a particular level, and fair play. It's great, but it absolutely does mean something, But what nobody explains to you is that becoming the head chef changes the game completely. Suddenly you're no longer responsible for your station. You're responsible for everything. Every plate, every guest, every complaint, every standard, every key member of the team. And that's where the reality begins. And I was watching a Instagram reel of a chef in England talking about the standard of hospitality. He was more talking about front of house than back of house, but mentioned both. That it's slipping. And it's slipping for a couple of reasons. One, there's a lack of staff. There's a lack of trained staff. And the ones coming in aren't getting the training that the previous ones got. I mentioned this about chefs. So therefore, they've no one to learn from or nobody to set the standard for. So I think the reality is hitting hospitality across the board on that. Being a head chef, the weight nobody sees. This, when a service goes well, everybody's happy, everybody celebrates. When a service goes bad, everybody looks at you. And that's the job. People see the food. They don't see the spreadsheets, the labour costs, the GP targets, the supplier issues, equipment breaking down. And equipment will never break down at 3 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. It will break down Saturday night, Sunday morning. That's when it gives up. Not when it's a Monday afternoon, you've nothing on the books and you can ring somebody, staff shortages, the endless emails, oh my God. The budget conversations, the meetings, and the difficult conversations you have to have with people. Being a head chef means carrying pressures that don't make it to the plate. You're expected to be creative, organized, profitable, inspiring, available all of the time, every day. That's it. You say, well, you should have a team capable of working without you. They're looking to you for the answers, so you have all of that. That's just part of the job. So I lost my notes, so I'm just scrolling back through because I pressed the bottom of the screen and lost everything. And without the notes these days, I used to do, for those that watched this from the start, I used to do the whole thing off the top of my head. I used to ramble an awful lot. I still ramble. Now at least I can look at notes and put myself back on track. And I don't think this is necessarily to do with just being a head chef. I guarantee if you talk to a GM, they'll probably mirror a lot of the points I've said and will say. And probably anybody who runs something will say something very similar, And it's the part nobody talks about. Leadership is lonely. Very lonely place. I spent all of my training, coming up through the ranks, learning from some great people and all of that. But when I didn't know somebody, you asked the guy above you. And if you didn't know, you asked the sous chef, or you went to the head chef and you asked and you got the answer. And you spend X period of time in this particular thing where you're told what to do, how to do it, what to do in the standard. And then you get to the head of the section and it's up to you to keep the standard, but you're still told everything else. And that continues all the way up till you become the head chef, and then everybody turns and looks at you all of a sudden going, so there's no training for that. So you become the person everybody comes to. The junior head chef who's struggling, the sous chef who's frustrated, the owner who's concerned, the supplier who's delayed, the customer who's unhappy. It's you, all of it. Everybody needs something all of the time. Everybody needs an answer, and they're all looking for support. And it's your job to give it. And often, you're the one providing it all, then who supports you? There isn't any. So who do you go to when you're carrying the pressure? And I think that's part of some of the issues within chefing, is that people turn to bad places, because pressure is real. That's the reality many head chefs live with. You might be in a position where you have a great deputy general manager or general manager you can sit with and talk to, just to blow it off or whatever. You're taking it home, because you become the person everybody leans on. Sometimes there's nobody to lean on, and everybody needs it in life, just in life, and like the pressure doesn't just stay in the kitchen. It follows you home. You replay the service in your head. You're thinking about staffing tomorrow. Is there a particular person that may not show up? Is somebody a little bit sick going home? It's not like you've extra staff hanging around. You're thinking about the deliveries. Something didn't come. The importance, if you've got a function tomorrow night and something didn't come today, now you're relying on it to come tomorrow. Then you're thinking about next week's rota. People are asking you for particular things off. They're trying to live their lives. You're trying to juggle all of this and the business. There's always some chef about the fucking leave, or did you think we'll leave us unhappy? The numbers coming in this weekend. Do I have enough food left? Food standards, maintaining them. Unless you're in a place which there's very few of, where it's a booking only type system, everything else is it's a fucking guess. That's it. You got functions coming in, you're pretty much sure what that's going to be. Not always, but most of the time. But if you've got a busy bar restaurant, how many people is coming through this weekend? You don't want to be running out of food, but you don't want to be sitting on food. So you have to gauge how many people are going to come in over the next 2 days, what they're going to eat, and have the right volumes of food for that. That's every day. But not too much. You can't have it sitting there. Food has a shelf life. Your body leaves the kitchen when you go home at night, but your mind doesn't. Not always. And over time, the weight accumulates. You sleep less. You worry more. You're permanently switched on, because leadership isn't a shift. It's a responsibility that follows you. And you get chefs, whether, say, well, out of work, nobody should ring you. They run into a problem. They have a question. They're on WhatsApp straight away, looking for an answer. They're genuine. They're not being anything. They're being genuine. And you either make yourself available to your team or you don't. And you can draw the line and say, well, when I'm off, I'm off. But you're the leader of the kitchen. There's no off. You become permanently switched on. And it's a responsibility that follows you. And there are times where the phone goes and I'm like, oh. But most of the time I understand it, you know what I mean? Something didn't get delivered, they're not sure about something, a booking came in for a function, they're trying to tell you about it for when you're back tomorrow or whatever. It's all understandable. One of the biggest lessons as a head chef, at the end of the day, you have far less control than you think. Staff leave, equipment break, suppliers fail, weather changes business, unexpected problems appear daily. You can plan, you can prepare, you can lead, but you can't control it. And accepting that reality is one of the hardest parts of the job. You can freak out and demand and all of this, but what's that old saying? Life is what happens while you're making plans. And that was brought very close to home to me recently of about making plans for the future. Now, live in the now. Very much so. I was lucky, nothing to do with me personally, but very much in my personal life. And bit of a reality wake-up call of do the things you're planning to do, but do them now. Because chefs are problem solvers on the hoof all of the time. You have to, middle of a busy Saturday night and a piece of equipment goes down, you better be able to switch around and use something else and shift things about to continue the service, to continue making it happen. I was working in a place and one of the fryers mid-service went up in flames. We never stopped service. We had other fryers. Some people ran, they left the kitchen. Can't blame them. It's a fire. Others reacted to put out the fire. And those that reacted to put out the fire, when I saw it was all under control, I just kept service going. Kept flaking it out. Most people said, no, get out of the building, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't that big of a fucking fire. It was dangerous enough, but not life-threatening, you know? Chefs want solutions. We want certainty. But being a head chef means you make a decision without either, you know? And what, for me, I tried to become the head chef I wanted to follow, if that makes sense. And I think every head chef eventually faces that question of what kind of leader am I going to be? An angry one, fearful one, a distant one, or a mentor, teacher, a builder. Because I think the guys you respect the most and are the most from shape who you become. Because every chef remembers someone who shaped them, someone who taught them, who believed in them. Excuse me. Oh. Ooh, those are the schnazzles. Someone who believed in them, someone who pushed them to become better. And maybe that's the real responsibility. Not controlling people, developing them. And you're developing them to leave. You know? Because eventually they'll get to a point in the kitchen where you cannot promote anymore, or you cannot teach them much more, and they'll go someplace else for it. So you are developing people to leave you, you know? But you're creating an environment for others to grow. And I think that's important. As I just said about the thing, which probably makes no sense to many people about just music and everybody singing. The best moments in a kitchen, they rarely come from awards or reviews or recognition, all of which are nice, don't get me wrong. They come from watching someone you've trained succeed and just become very good. Watching a young chef grow in confidence and just find their place. Watching a team pull together and pull off fantastic things. Watching people become better than they were. They're the bits I'll remember the most, you know, down the road. Not the awards. I'll remember, oh, I won awards, but I won't remember when, where, you know. But I'll remember the chefs. I'll remember the watching the young chefs flourish. I'll remember, you know, thankfully a lot of the guys that work under me have gone on to very good things and become very, very good chefs, and still in contact with them. Very proud of them, you know. I think those are the moments that matter the most. I think those moments remind you who you really are. You know, those moments remind you why you started and why the responsibility is worth carrying. Because one day down the road, and I guarantee you it's true right now, if I go back a number of years to a place I did work in, yeah, nobody will remember the food cost percentage. Nobody will remember the rota that you put on. Nobody will remember the order sheets. Nobody will remember the plates of food. What they will remember is you. How you led, how you handled the pressure, how you treated people, how you made them feel. Very modern age of me today, isn't it? For an old fucker. But it's true, because being the head chef really isn't just about running a kitchen. It's about carrying one. And that's why, for all its rewards, it still remains the loneliest job in the kitchen. And I wouldn't give it up for anything. This is Noel, aka the Culinary Gangster. This is the dark side of the kitchen. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, hit a like. Let's keep changing the world, one plate at a time.